Right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling something pretty big, actually. It's this whole idea of the avatar trap.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. Sounds intense.
It is. Think about it. Waking up one day, and the world only knows you through your online stuff.
Like all your posts and comments.
Exactly. Every share, it all builds this digital version of you.
But is it really accurate? That's what I always wonder.
Right. And that's a huge part of what we're looking at. What happens when that online persona, that carefully crafted image, becomes more important than the real you?
Yeah, I see where this is going. Definitely some tricky stuff to unpack there. Especially now. I mean, everyone's online, right?
All the time. So to get started, we've got some really fascinating sources, articles, and research all looking at this avatar trap. And our goal, our mission for this deep dive is to figure out, why is this whole thing so tempting? Why do we do it?
Right, because there got to be a reason, right? It's not like people are just trying to be fake.
Exactly. And then, of course, the big question, what are the downsides?
The potential dangers. Yeah, I'm really interested in that side of things.
Us too. And the sources make a pretty strong case for why we should be paying attention.
Okay, so where do we start? With the why. The appeal of this whole avatar thing.
I think so. Because, honestly, part of it feels natural, doesn't it? Wanting to show your best side, especially online.
I mean, everyone wants to make a good first impression, and online that's often your profile, your posts, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, who doesn't want to look good, be successful, put their best foot forward?
Exactly. And it's more than just vanity, right? Our sources dive into the psychology behind it. It's this deep need to control how others see us, to shape the narrative.
Interesting. So it's not just about being superficial.
Not at all. It taps into this primal human need, the need for approval, for belonging, and social media platforms with their likes and follower counts, they feed right into that.
So are we saying social media is the problem here?
It's not that simple. The sources argue that these platforms have basically created this marketplace for attention.
A marketplace?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Explain that one.
Think of it this way. We're all kind of competing for attention, and the currency we use, it's this carefully constructed image of ourselves, our online self.
So, like, we're all selling something, even if it's just an image.
Exactly. We highlight our successes, filter our photos, we present this polished version. It's how we try to gain social capital, you know?
Like, we're all actors on a stage, but the stage is our profile.
That's a great way to put it. And as the sources point out, this whole thing can get pretty addictive.
Addictive? How so?
Well, the more positive feedback we get, the more likes, the more comments, the more we feel this need to keep it up, to maintain that perfect image.
I can see that. It's like a cycle. You get the validation, and then you crave more of it.
Exactly. You get trapped trying to live up to this image that might not even be real.
And that's where this avatar trap really starts to get dangerous, right?
That's where it gets interesting. The sources call it authenticity lost. Basically, we pour so much into this online persona, we can lose touch with who we are in real life, our values, our experiences.
So we're sacrificing who we truly are just to get likes and comments. That's a pretty steep price to pay, don't you think?
It can be. And the consequences, that's what we're going to dive into next. And those consequences, they can be pretty serious. One of the biggest ones, according to our sources, is the impact on us, on our mental and emotional health.
Makes sense. It can't be healthy to constantly be comparing yourself to everyone else's highlight reel, right?
Exactly. And that's what we end up doing. We see these perfect, curated versions of people's lives, and we start to feel inadequate, like we're not good enough.
It's like comparing your bloopers to everyone else's finished film.
Perfect analogy. And all that pressure to keep up this perfect image online, it can be overwhelming. The sources talk about this leading to real problems. Anxiety, depression, even a sense of disconnect from the people in your actual life.
So it's not just about feeling bad about yourself. It can actually affect your relationships too.
Absolutely. Because we're so focused on this online image, we can forget to nurture those real-world connections, the ones that really matter. You know, the sources actually cite some research on this, studies showing that too much social media can lead to feelings of loneliness, isolation, even lower life satisfaction.
Wow, I had no idea there was actual science backing this up.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of research out there now. It's becoming a pretty big concern. And it's not just our mental and emotional health that's at stake. The sources also raised some serious concerns about privacy and security, all this stuff we're putting online.
Okay, that's something I've been thinking about more and more lately. What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, every time we post something, every comment, it all becomes data. data that's being collected and analyzed, and it's used to create this profile of us,
Mm.
of our behaviors and preferences.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
we're creating this digital footprint everywhere we go.
That's a good way to put it. And that data, it's valuable. The sources go into how companies and algorithms use this data for targeted advertising. Have you ever noticed how, like, you search for something online and then suddenly you're seeing ads for it everywhere?
Oh, all the time. I thought it was just a coincidence, but now that you mention it.
It's not a coincidence. It's those algorithms at work. They track what we do online, what we like, what we search for, and then they use that information to serve us ads that they think we'll click on.
So it's not just about the ads themselves. It's that our data is being used to manipulate us, to influence our choices.
That's a big part of it. And that raises all sorts of ethical questions, which our sources get into. Questions about privacy, about autonomy, about free will in this digital age.
Whoa, that's heavy stuff. It's like we're losing control over our own minds.
That's a valid concern. And it's something we need to be aware of. The sources emphasize the importance of being mindful about what we share online, who we share it with, taking steps to protect our privacy.
Okay, but how do we do that? I mean, it feels like everything is online these days.
It's true, it can feel overwhelming, but the sources do offer some practical advice. They talk about things like using privacy settings, being careful about what information we share, even considering alternative social media platforms that prioritize user privacy. It's about being proactive, you
Be
know?
more conscious of our digital footprint.
Exactly, and recognizing that our digital identities are a part of us and we have a responsibility to manage them thoughtfully, ethically.
Okay, so we've talked about the downsides, the risks, but I know the sources also talk about, well, about hope, about breaking free from this avatar trap.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I think is so fascinating about all of this. There is a way out, and that's what we're going to explore now.
So there is hope. That's good to hear because all this talk about data and manipulation, it's a little unsettling, to be honest.
Yeah.
But how do we actually break free from this avatar trap? It sounds a little abstract.
Well, our sources actually offer some really practical steps. And the first one is, well, they call it an audit of our online presence.
An audit, like a financial audit. What does that even mean for, like, our online selves?
It's more like taking stock, I guess. Looking at what we're putting out there. Does it match who we really are? Our values? Maybe there are things we need to tweak.
So not like deleting everything and going off the grid, but more like being more mindful.
Exactly. It's asking yourself, what story am I telling online? And is that the story I want to be telling? Maybe it's a profile picture that's like 10 years old, or you're following accounts that make you feel bad instead of good.
Oh, yeah, like those perfect life influencers. I definitely need to unfollow a few of those.
Right. It's like spring cleaning, but for your digital life. And it's not just about what we're posting, it's also how we're behaving online. How much time are we just scrolling mindlessly? Are we having real conversations or just adding to the noise?
Yeah, good point. It's easy to get sucked in.
It is. And once we have a better sense of, well, of what we're doing online, the sources recommend focusing on two main things: quality over quantity and connection over validation.
Okay, I like the sound of that. But what does it actually look like practically?
So, quality over quantity, that means shifting our focus. Instead of chasing likes and followers, we try to create content that really matters to us, stuff that's authentic. You know, instead of 10 selfies a day, maybe you share an article that got you thinking or a picture of something beautiful you saw.
It's about sharing what resonates with you, not what you think will get the most likes.
Exactly. And being picky about what we're consuming too. Maybe unfollowing those accounts that make you feel bad and finding ones that inspire you instead. Less mindless scrolling, more intentional choices.
So being in control of our digital lives rather than letting them control us.
That's it. And that leads into the second part, connection over validation. Remembering that social media, at its heart, it's about connecting with people.
Sharing experiences, having conversations, not just racking up likes.
Right. It's about asking yourself, am I here to genuinely connect, or am I performing for validation?
That's a good question, one I think we all need to ask ourselves more often.
I agree. And there are specific things we can do. The sources talk about having real conversations online, reaching out to people you care about, finding online communities that share your interests.
Remembering that there are real people behind those profiles.
Yes. And being kind, respectful, treating people online the way you'd want to be treated in person. And as we focus on those genuine connections, the need for validation, it starts to fade away.
because we're finding fulfillment in those real relationships.
Exactly. And that's when we really start to feel the benefits, less anxiety, less comparison. We're free to be ourselves.
To express ourselves authentically and to connect with others in a more meaningful way.
That's the power of breaking free from this avatar trap. It changes how we experience the online world.
It's a powerful reminder that we have control. We can create a digital life that's positive, that reflects who we really are.
Absolutely. And it all starts with that choice to step out of the trap and embrace who we are.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening conversation. I know I'm definitely going to be rethinking my own online habits after this.
Me too. It's a journey, but a worthwhile one for sure.
Absolutely. And to our listener, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and, well, maybe even a little inspiring. Until next time, stay curious.